Alright, we will see how many pools of blood Back got at the end of this review. But as always, we're going to start off here with the IMDb plot. When Maika and her ragtag friends discover an alien invasion in their tiny Arctic hamlet, it's up to them to save the day. Utilizing their makeshift weapons and horror movie knowledge, gotta have that horror movie knowledge, the aliens realize you don't mess with the girls from Pang. Alright, always gotta have that horror knowledge. I always say that, it's like one day, hopefully, watching all these horror movies comes in handy. And then I think, well, maybe it's better off that it doesn't, because that means either aliens or some creature or a ghost or something is after me. So maybe I, it's nice to have, but hopefully I don't have to use it. I always say, how many times you get in that situation? This feels like it could be a horror situation if I do this, so let's just not. Yeah, plenty of times, especially Jaws moments. That's why I stay away from the ocean. But anyway, Back. Here we go. This is a new one on Shudder, so we will try to be fairly spoiler-free if possible here. And this is, as listed here, adventure sci-fi. And I would say, there's a touch horror in here. I mean, you're going to see some creatures, whatever, kind of explode and some blood here and there. So, we'll throw a touch of horror as well. But here you have a young group of friends, a young group of girls primarily. And, interesting mix. They kind of get along. There's one girl who might be a little bit on the outs, but I think at the end of the day, they're still a tight-knit group. One of them has a young sister who, was one of those young sisters that, hey, I want to be part of the group, but, they're like, well, you're probably too young. Why don't you go play with the girls over there? And she, doesn't really want to. So she kind of, is the tag-along, if you want to call it. So they're going about their lives. It is apparently the school break, summer maybe, and so there's no school. So, there's not a whole bunch to do over here. They're on their bicycles, they're exploring, they get on a boat, they kind of go across the way and then do some more exploring. It's a small town, lots of land around them and so forth. And on one of their little outings here, out in the distance, and yeah, why young girls are carrying guns, I don't know. One of them carries a gun. I guess it's danger of animals or whatever out there. One of them happens to have a gun, and they're out there having their conversations, and one of them is kind of taking pictures or using her phone to kind of look in the distance and sees something out there, something out in the distance. And they're like, well, what is this? And kind of as it gets a little bit more into view, they're thinking, hey, it's a polar bear. And okay, so what do you do if a polar bear is coming? Well, it seems like at first, they're just gonna kind of play quiet. I won't go through ruin the whole scene for you, but let's just say situation has it where polar bear is gonna move in close to for the attack. And that gun does come in handy, and they proceed to open fire on it. And I'm sure polar bears were harmed in the making of this movie, because it turns out that there was something different about this polar bear. It moved different, something a little awkward about it. But they go on their way, and maybe whatever. But soon, not too long after, that one girl that I mentioned is kind of maybe a little off the group there, decides, hey, I'm not so certain about the events that happened the other day. I want to go investigate. Horror knowledge would have told you, don't go investigate. But she went investigate, and yeah, finds herself in a little bit of trouble, but manages to escape, only to kind of open the door to, hey, we have some alien creatures in our backyard, and the danger, I guess, precedes that, as the aliens now have come out of this, open area and now come into town. And they are not friendly alien creatures, to say. So the girls are going to have to be the ones, because everybody else in the town, I don't know what they're doing. They got busy schedules or whatever. They seem oblivious to what is going on, or have no time to deal with the aliens that are coming. So so these young, basically, from here on out, we see these young girls have to battle these alien creatures, and that's kind of the basic setup that we have here. Again, like I said, spoiler free, but I don't, not too many major twists and turns here. You're gonna get, the young girls. You're gonna get them fighting these alien creatures. You're gonna get to learn a little bit about these alien creatures and what they can do. And then you're going to watch the girls kind of try to figure out, what's going on with these alien creatures and how they're going to rid themselves of these creatures, and save the small town and so forth. And then along the way, you're going to kind of get this mix of, the girls and a little bit of their drama within themselves, and, kind of a little bit of the mix where, they're still kind of trying to do, what they typically do. There's a boy that gets a little involved, so there's, issues with the boy. And then, like I said, issues amongst themselves, issues with the little sister. So those kind of things, and family issues as well. So, they kind of do that thing where they try to make the girls kind of relatable and make the situation kind of relatable to maybe a young audience there. And then you get the fun parts where obviously they're fighting these aliens. I will say that the alien creatures here, and it's kind of done on purpose, and at first it's a little awkward. You kind of look at what's going on and you're wondering, did they do the special effects wrong here? What is with the special effects? Is it just not right? Or at least, that's, I was giving them the benefit of the doubt, like, what is happening here? Again, I don't want to give it away. You just kind of see, when you see, I hope you'll see what I'm saying is that, these alien creatures are a little awkward and so forth. Kind of, I guess, in their kind of disguise. That kind of gives away a little bit. But it is a little weird and a little off. It does make it a little creepy, and maybe scary, especially if you're one of these girls. And so you kind of get that going on. But then once you kind of get the gist of what's happening, I think then you're like, oh, okay. I think, the creatures, had these little, like, tentacle things that come out at you, or come out at whoever they're attacking. I thought that was a pretty good use there. They did, so they did pretty good with that. The young girls, I think for the most part you'll end up rooting for them. Again, like I said, this might be a touch tailored to maybe a younger audience here. It doesn't say what it's rated. Maybe it's not rated, I don't know. But as far as the girls go, there is blood splatter. A lot of it is kind of that blood splatter where you take a swipe at one of these creatures, or even a person gets swiped, and it's throw blood on the wall, throw blood over here, kind of see the blood go over there, but not really see the blow itself. And I always hate that. I want to see it. I'm in for the blood and guts, and if you're gonna chop off something's head, I want to see that head fall off. I want to see that arm fall off. I want to see the blood flying everywhere. But this one kind of tends to be the other way, where you kind of see, here it comes, and then blood fly here it comes, blood fly there, and you get a little bit, a few okay scenes. You're gonna get, there is at least, I'll be fair and say there is some other blood scenes that are okay, but as far as that, I happen to notice a couple of times that they did that technique more than one occasion, and as someone who likes blood and guts, that gets annoying. It's like, I want to see it, show it to me, stop this After Effect thing. but there is going to be another bloody moment or two they squeeze in there. But I thought it was a very fun, simple adventure. Like I said, at the heart of it, the alien creature is kind of interesting. Like I said, the tentacle use and so forth. And then, what these aliens are doing is kind of interesting. I'm not maybe, kind of sold on or the whole thing about why these aliens are here and then, what happens at the end. Maybe not completely sold on that aspect of it. I think it might have had its moments there where I don't know if it's the writing or the dialogue or something was going on. Maybe not been as strong as possible. Maybe with the young girls they try to keep it more simple. I don't know. So I don't think it was completely perfect. I thought maybe there are a few moments that maybe they could have cut out, didn't necessarily need, or the conversation didn't turn as interesting or whatever. But like I said, maybe that's just because they kept it to maybe a simple conversation that maybe these girls were actually having, as opposed to maybe something more adult or something. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I still think this is a fun movie. It's a fun watching these young girls. Fight for survival, I guess. I think they get a little lucky, in the situations and so forth. Maybe if this was a more hardcore movie, and maybe if they were a little older, things wouldn't have ended up so nice for them, I guess, or so easily for them to kind of escape. But I think horror fans will at least enjoy this enough. It's only about an hour and a half, or maybe a little less than an hour and a half. So I think there's enough there to put it on, watch, and enjoy, and nothing that kind of drags on. Even though maybe they could have still cut a little bit away from it. But I think there'll be enough to enjoy. Not probably the biggest blockbuster sci-fi movie to be on Shudder, but I think you'll enjoy it. And then I don't know too much about this group of kids and being from Pang and what that has to do with everything. And I guess we're maybe being just introduced to a different group of people than we're used to seeing and so forth, which is fine here. No problem. And it's a good scene of seeing a young group of young ladies here fight off the evil and so forth. So maybe a little bit different there, and a little bit different in the territory. The setting of this, it is a little different. Like I said, it's a very small town, and basically, it really zooms into just these girls. You don't get a lot of the outside. After you get the opening, they're not going to get a lot of outside help. It's basically going to be them for the much of it. The outside help is not going to end up being that much help at the end of the day. And then a little bit of a fun ending, humorous ending that they try to put in there, which kind of ties back to the characters and really who they are and who you see they are. So with that, I'm going to give it 3 pools of blood, and that is out of 5. I guess slashback is their form of saying fight back against the aliens. So I was kind of curious about that when I saw the name. Like, okay, what's that about? But I assume that's what they mean by that, but whatever. So yeah, 3 pools of blood, not 0.5, 3 pools of blood out of 5 for Slashback. So with that, horrorsquarereviews.blogspot.com is where you can find all of my reviews, written and video reviews. But if you're just interested in the video reviews, you can subscribe, like, do all those things that everybody wants you to do. If not, no problem, no worries. You can also head over to the blog, catch the written reviews, and so forth. If there's something you're looking for that you can't find, that you're wondering if I reviewed it or not, feel free to ask. You can do so on Twitter, Facebook. That information is down below as well, or even in the comments section. Once you catch this on Shudder, feel free to share your thoughts. You like it, didn't like it. What did you think of the aliens, I guess, and kind of what is going on with them? I guess I'd be kind of curious to know your thoughts of that. where you're kind of thrown off a little bit at the beginning of when you first kind of saw them. I was like, well, what is happening here? But it was an interesting take and interesting what they tried to do there, with the aliens and what the aliens were trying to do. But anyway, with that, I thank you as always for joining me, and I will catch you on the next review, horror fans.